Welcome back to Royally Confident, and today I have a special mini series for you. So, I'll be having a little mini series from time to time, and I'll tell you about this one right now. So, today's mini series is about decentering relationships. It could be men, it could be women. I'm not discriminating, and this is going to be a three-part mini series. So, part one is why we center relationships in the first place and where it could actually come from. Part two is how to decenter these relationships ideals. And part three is what happens when you decenter relationships. Like, what's your life gonna look like if you actually stop decentering relationships? But today, since it's the beginning of our three-part mini series, is part one, why we center relationships. So, why you center your life around relationships and you don't even realize it? Sometimes you probably don't even know. So, we're going to really talk about why you might be centering around relationships and where it could come from. And if this really resonates with you, please let me know. So, the first one is we confuse being chosen with being worthy. And this means that you are obsessed with being chosen because you feel like it means you're being worthy. And a lot of things that could happen like this is basically maybe you were playing dodgeball when you were a kid and nobody picked you on the team. Or they knew that the best players always get picked first. So you could have used any of those type of analogies and thought, oh my gosh, if I'm not chosen, I'm not worthy. You know those movies where they have the kid is always picked last? That could be one of the triggers that make people feel like they need to be chosen and to feel worthy. And this also could be like when your mother picks your brother instead of you, or someone says, "Oh, you're such a good child. I don't know what happened to this child." Anything. It could stem from anything. And I want you to really figure out where it did stem from because we confuse being chosen with being worthy. And because of that, we always want someone to choose us because we need it. And I've heard like a lot of friends of mine who date constantly and go on constant dates, hookups, and stuff because they want the person to choose them. And the person leaves them because they're just picking anybody. Like they're ignoring the red flags, they're ignoring their intuition, and they just want to feel chosen. And they keep choosing people who don't choose them. So we confuse being chosen with actually being worthy because if you ask questions like, am I too much? Am I not pretty enough? Am I not funny enough? Am I not cool enough? And you feel like in order to get those questions answered, you need to be chosen and someone needs to validate that for you. We grow up thinking the relationship is the happy ending. This resonates with me so much. As a millennial who grew up in the 90s, we have all the romantic movies and Disney movies centering around men, right? These are all centered around men. The man gets the girl gets her happy ending. She's going through all these hardships and trials like in Cinderella, Snow White, all those movies where they have like the evil stepmother and they're having a hard time living life, and then there's this man who just like whisks them off their feet and takes them away, and they have this happy ending and the movie's over. Right, the movie is over. They don't tell you what really happens afterwards. Yes, that is where I grow up thinking that relationships is the happy ending, and I was one of them. A little story about me is that I thought that a relationship would be my happy ending, and that's all I was looking for. And when I got into a relationship, I finally expected that I was going to have this magical happy ending where everything just falls into place and the movie ends. But we're like replaying the good scenes over and over again. And I was hit really hard with reality. Like, really hard with reality, telling me that no, that is not the case. And just to let you know that there are hardships and challenges that come with relationships, and they don't talk about that in the movies. Like, they're like, oh, the hardships are always to get to the relationship, but then once you get to the relationship, there's a happy ending. They don't tell you that even after you get in the relationship, there are challenges and things like communications and blah blah blah. You know what I'm talking about. So I also grew up thinking that relationships meant it was a happy ending, and I totally ignored the fact that my grandparents were definitely not a true vision of what happy endings should look like in my eyes. So I always hoped that I got the movie romance. So if you grew up thinking that relationships mean happy ending, you always want to look for that, especially if you're going through really tough times, you're sad, you're depressed, or you're like financially unstable and you just want someone to like give you this happy ending. You want someone to, well, we're going to get into that, like pretty much rescue you and make your life so much easier. So you think that that's what a partner can do. You think that by getting a partner, you can get this happy ending and everything will be so much easier. And that is just not the case. We build our identity around who wants us. That means that you pretend to be somebody you're not when you're dating. A good example would be, I just went out with this guy, and when we were texting, oh my gosh, his text game was amazing. It like made me really interested, because we met online, so there's like no calling and stuff. And then when I met him in person, he was like completely different. Yes, your girl got catfished, like straight up catfished. And he was like completely different because he was pretending and trying to be somebody he thought that I wanted. And I don't want that, because then when I really find your true self, like I should like your true self, not the person you think I want you to be. And this also has to be with my last relationship as well. He was being the person I wanted, but not who he truly was until we were 5 years in deep. And I already found out like maybe after the first year. Okay, whatever. Anyways, but we build our identity around who wants us. So basically, you probably are like on a date and you're asking him all these things that he wants or she wants in a relationship, and then you try to become that person. So whatever they ask you do, even if it's like against everything that you don't want to do or you're really scared to do. I saw this reality show like a long long time ago about celebrities that are dating, right? And one of them said that she really liked this guy, and she really wanted to make it work, and he's like this extreme sports guy. He likes diving off of planes and stuff. And when they were at dinner, she was like, oh yeah, I like to do that too. And she doesn't. She like absolutely hates those type of things. And on one of a surprise date he took her on, it was jumping out of a plane, and she was freaking out. And she wind up doing it, but afterwards she finally admitted, like, I do not like this stuff. I only said that because I wanted you to like me. And in that circumstance, he didn't care. But the point is like, you don't want to have to change who you are. You want someone to like you for who you are exactly. And if they're not aligned, that's fine. Then you're gonna meet someone who is more aligned. But if you build your identity around what you think guys want, instead of being yourself, you are centering your life around relationships. If you are changing who you are and saying yes to things that you know you wouldn't do, you are centering yourself around relationships. The fear of being alone. Yes, this is a fear. This is like one of the most common fears that I hear women speak about today. And it really breaks my heart. And I honestly say I don't really understand that feeling of fear alone, because I am an only child and I was alone all the time. But I always had friends. I have felt lonely, but I was never afraid of being alone. But a lot of people are really afraid of being alone. Even when I had a conversation with my work wife, she was like, oh, are you not afraid of being alone? I said, no. Why? I have my friend. She's like, well, then who's gonna take care of you, or when you die, who's gonna find you? It was like, well, if someone finds me, then someone finds me. If someone doesn't find me, like, I hope I have friends that care about me enough to like check on me and see if I'm alive and things like that. And yeah, I thought about it like, yeah, that would suck, if I was in a relationship right now and I kicked the bucket, at least someone could like let my family know and things like that. But if I kick the bucket, like, I'm gonna be dead. Like, I'm not gonna know what to do. It's the people that are gonna be more devastated than me is the people that are still alive mourning me. Okay, I'm dead. Like, there's no way I'm gonna be thinking about things like that. So I thought like, oh, there's no need to be scared of being alone. But there are people who are genuinely afraid of being alone because one, they do not want to die alone. They are not happy being alone. They are afraid of their own thoughts. And this could be from when you were abandoned as a child, you feel the abandonment, or your parents left you alone all the time and you were always scared. It could be you grew up in a really large household and you were surrounded by people constantly, and now you're out on your own and you don't want to be alone, so you get into relationships so you don't be alone. And that's also centering yourself around relationships because you feel as if being in a relationship will make sure that you are not lonely, because you're so used to people being around you 24/7. You need someone else who's 24/7, and that would be the reason why you're centering yourself around relationships. Another reason, if you are afraid of being alone, is that you do not like the way your thoughts go, and I honestly say you need to seek therapy. If the negative thoughts you have are really too overwhelming to manage or work on, then you should seek therapy to work through this. But I have heard people also don't want to be alone, so they'll just date whoever, whenever, whoever gives them attention and things like that, because they don't want to think about the thoughts that are in their head, and they just want to like forget. So they center themselves around getting in relationships instead of being with friends. Another one is fear of missing out while everyone else gets married. Oh my gosh, I have heard this one too so many times. People are really jealous of people getting married, and this also has to do with a lot of romantic movies, not just Disney movies, like just romantic movies, and the societal pressures that women have, especially in the States, to get married by a certain age. I have also felt those pressures. My grandma to this day asks me, Janice, when are you going to get married? And I am like, never. Like, I am not getting married. And I keep telling myself this mantra, because if I do get married, I do get married. I'm not like against marriage, but that is not my sole priority. But I do tell people this is like, I need to marry myself first before I get married to another person. And I mean like a whole wedding shebang. I invite people, my friends, and families. I got the dress on and I'm marrying me. And then I can marry someone else. Because me marrying me is me committed to myself and my needs and my things, okay? That's, I'm going to make an episode about that. Anyways, the fear of missing out while everyone else gets married. I have heard people say, oh, I see on Instagram everyone's getting married, and I feel like my life is not going the way I want it to go. And even my ex said the same thing before he even turned 30. He was like, if I'm not married and I don't have a house, like, I'd feel like I didn't make it in life. And I was like, I'm 30 and I don't have a house and I feel like I'm fine. Like, because I just don't understand why everyone needs to get married. I understand the societal pressures because everyone says you need to get married by a certain time. And I'm also currently in China, and they also have the societal pressures of getting married before 30. Like, it is imperative to get married before 30, or you're an old maid. Like, literally, they think that. And I'm walking around like I'm 34 and I'm not married, and I'm really happy about that, because marriage is a huge commitment. People don't understand that it is very like important to marry someone who's really aligned with you and financially stable with you, because marriage is a lot of work, and it's not only that, it's like a really huge commitment. A lot of things are together and the same, and when you feel like you're missing out on marriage, you have no idea what marriage really is. And I honestly think that if you really want to get married really, really badly, you really need to know what comes with the marriage. I also recommend, before you even marry the person that you swear you want to get married to forever with, I suggest couples therapy and, go through things, go over finances and all that stuff before you get married, because marriage is a huge, huge, huge commitment, and a lot of things come with marriage. And I know about this. I am not a fan of marriage, and I am not a fan of just marrying someone because I've been with them for a long time. I'm not a fan of marrying someone because I love them. I'm not a fan of marrying someone just because someone says I have to marry them. So just saying, your girl's not a fan of that societal pressure, and people who center themselves around relationships have a fear of missing out on marriage because you got family pressures and things like that. And I've met someone who actually married somebody that she knew they were not aligned. She married him because she thought that he would change after they got married. And I'm going to tell you right now, for those who think that if you marry him, things will change, they will not change. They will not change. So stop centering yourself around relationships, because just because you want to get married, doesn't mean the person's going to change for you. Absolutely not, because that's just not how people work. They are not robots. So if you fear missing out while everyone gets married, that means you are centering yourself around relationships and getting into multiple relationships because you want to get married, and you're ignoring the red flags. You're ignoring probably their needs. Like if a guy says he doesn't want commitment and you stick it out, hoping, waiting he'll change his mind and be together with you and then marry you, then no, girl, no. Stop. No, that's centering yourself around relationships. Looking for someone to complete us instead of compliment us. Like, I feel like in relationships, they should be a nice accessory. Like partners, boyfriends, girlfriends, they should be a nice accessory to have on your arm. They should never complete you. You should complete yourself. And a way that is also is Disney movies and romantic movies. It's the same concept. Like you feeling so alone. You're in a terrible state. You're unhappy. You're sad. You're lonely. You feel like nothing in the world is going right for you, and you feel like if you find the one, that it would make you happy, it would complete you, and you'll feel whole again. And honestly, that is not the case. I i thought the same thing, that I thought a relationship would complete me, and I ignored all the red flags and all the instances, even when we were together, and I still felt very lonely and I felt very insecure. So, if you are looking for someone because you think you want to find your better half, oh my god, I hate that saying. I need to find my better half. Like, no, you gotta complete yourself. You are a whole, and they are an accessory. Look at this. This is an accessory, right? And it is fake, right? And I could have it if I want to, and I could take it out when I want to without damaging my skin. That's how a partner should be. So if you're looking for someone to complete you instead of compliment you, you are centering yourself around relationships. Yes, this one. Looking for someone to rescue us. This one is one I completely centered myself around relationships because of this one. Before my before this ex, no, actually, before my first boyfriend, was completely centered around relationships. I wanted a boyfriend so bad because all through high school, I saw all my friends have boyfriends. I had that fear of missing out because my friends had boyfriends and they were in high school, and I wanted a boyfriend. And, the parents are like, you should study, not think about a boyfriend. But I was extremely unhappy, and I was lonely, The difference is I was not scared of being alone, okay? I was lonely. There's a difference. So I was lonely and they looked so happy and I was not happy and I thought if I had a boyfriend, I could be happy and I just want a boyfriend. So any guy who was giving me attention, I was giving them a chance, regardless of the red flags, right? And I still didn't get a boyfriend until I got into college and I got stood up by another guy. And on the same day I got stood up, I asked this other guy out. And he said, yeah. And then we were together for 4 years and it was the most toxic relationship I've been in. Left me for another woman. Yeah. He did not rescue me from my loneliness. He just made me more insecure, made me question my worth more, made me feel like I wasn't enough. But what I thank him for is that because I felt all those ways in that relationship, it made me literally decenter men. That relationship literally made me decenter men. So if you're looking for someone to rescue you from your financial situation, your your lifestyle, your whatever it is that you want rescuing from, you are centering your life around relationships and you should honestly just be rescuing yourself. So I wasn't obsessed with finding a partner. I was obsessed with finally feeling enough. Yes. So if you think about this, right? You are obsessed with finding a relationship. You are really obsessed. Like, that is the sole priority of your life. It's because you don't feel enough. You don't feel worthy. You don't feel like you are enough for anybody. You feel like you're too much. And you feel like a relationship will validate that. So when you are centering yourself around relationships, you do not value yourself. You do not respect yourself. You do not value yourself. And you do not think that you are enough. So that is why you center your life around relationships and you don't realize. So if I missed anything, please let me know. And thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, I have the Royally Confident Collective. It is a great place for women to come to get support with other women, so you don't have to do it alone. I was one of the people that had to do it all by myself. Like, it was awful. And I really wanted to create a place where people can grow, heal, and choose themselves. And we also have workshops, pop up coffee shops, weekly one weekly group meetings, and I also offer complimentary mentorship with me. uh like a one winner a month would get a complimentary membership mentorship with me. And yeah, we go over decentering men, we go over comparisons, we go over confidence, we go over, all like self love, self worth, self esteem, and you're just not alone anymore. Like, you don't have to do it alone, and you have people who understand you and understand what you're going through. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please let me know, and you can join the Royally Confident Collective today. And also, don't forget to subscribe to me, okay? I want you to follow me. I want you to learn to love yourself, choose yourself, and decenter things that do not align with who your higher self could be. And if that is what you want, subscribe to my channel. So thank you. See you next time for the next episode of the mini series. And it was really good hanging out with you guys.